All right. Welcome everybody to today's author showcase. I am so excited to have a truly interesting guest. Not only is Dr. Simone a professor of psychology, she's also a radio personality, a digital marketing expert. And on top of all of that, she is a wife, a mother, a fitness enthusiast, and an accomplished author whose work, in my opinion, brings together a fascinating mix of experience and insight. Today, we'll get to know the person behind the pages, hear about her writing journey, and maybe pick up a few stories from her classroom, the studio, and her keeping fit journey. So, before I dive in, my name is Sam George, and I am excited again to be your host for this particular episode of Write-Tukubuli Virtual Literary Festivals Offer Showcase. Dr. Simone, welcome.
Yes, good day, Sam, and thank you so much for having me on. And again, congratulations on putting together the Write-Tukubuli Virtual Literary Festival, a much needed initiative to support our authors and anyone who is interested in the literary world. It is great to be here with you today.
Yes, thank you very much. And it was definitely a team effort putting this together. And I am so honored to be a part of it, as we continue the journey as being authors and supporting one another. And so with that, uh, you've worn and you're still wearing, in fact, so many hats in your career, professor, radio host, marketer. But let's start with your author journey. And I know some of your author journey started before you became a radio host per se, but you've kind of always been in the media because I remember you going all the way back to Kai videos.
Kai videos.
So it's really not new. You were just in a different format of media. And that was just at the beginning of social media kind of thing before your Facebook and your great platforms. But what inspired you? And you can of course talk about how you came into doing Kai videos at some point. But how or what first inspired you to sit down and write a book?
Yeah, Sam. So very briefly, because Kai Video was just my way of giving back to Dominica. Because I think when you're an immigrant, once you've attained a certain level of success in your life, your first thought goes to how can you contribute to the country who made you who you are. So It was just a way of filming some of the wonderful festivals around the world from Dominicans, and just sharing it on a website I used to have called Kai Video. So, many of us are patriots. And so we always have our countries in our minds and on our hearts. But with regards to Push Past 10, I used my experience in psychology. So as of today, I've been in the world of psychology for almost 30 years, which began when I attended my bachelor's degree. I got a scholarship to attend Midwestern State University to pursue my bachelor's degree in psychology. That is almost 30 years ago, from 1995, right? And so 1996, my apologies. And so by the year 2003, I started the journey of the wellness, trying to lose some weight, trying to get my health under control. And I just realized that I wasn't consistent. So I would begin and everything would be going well, and then I would fall off the wagon, something that so many of us can identify with. So what I realized is that I had to start working on being consistent. And so one of the things that came to mind is I was teaching myself to be a runner. And whenever I would go out running, the first 10 minutes was so excruciatingly difficult that all I wanted to do was give up and go back home. But somehow, once I got to that, past the first 10 minutes, I realized that a momentum was kicking in, and eventually I taught myself to run up to an hour. And that's something I do to this day, like 20 something years later. As a matter of fact, I just came from running yesterday. And again, I had to remind myself, push past the first 10 minutes and you will get the momentum to go further. And that is how the idea of push past 10 was born. The idea, oh, you have a copy. Well, actually, I'll show you the upgraded copy, Sam,
Okay.
because I did some revamping and I changed the cover page.
Nice,
I
nice.
changed the cover to a more modern look.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so that is how the idea was born. But it did take me a few years to get the book written and published, because for so many of us, right, we have a purpose in life. We have something that we were created to do. Many of us know that purpose, but many of us are not consistent. So in the same way, I used consistency back when I was learning to teach myself to run. The concepts of push past 10 applies to any goal that we are trying to achieve. Anybody who feels stuck, who feels not motivated to pursue their goals, who constantly feel that there are obstacles getting in the way, that is what push past 10 is about. So I don't want folks to think, well, it's just for those of us who are looking to exercise more. No, it is for anyone who has a goal that they're trying to pursue, a life goal. Whether you're talking about going back to college, whether you're talking about changing that job, starting your own business, but somehow you feel stuck, right? So the idea is, how can you make permanent change? And that is why the book is called Push Past 10, Unlock Your Potential, Achieve Your Goals. And it says a simple guide for achieving permanent change. Because when we achieve permanent change, that is when we're able to truly accomplish the goal that we've set for ourselves.
Yeah. I have to tell you that I have a copy of your book, and that I have you have the
Yes.
modernized cover. I have the old cover,
Yep. Same story.
but that's okay. The content remains the same, and I
Yes.
read this book as often as I can, because you're right. It's not just about exercising. It's also about a perseverance and whatever it is you are working on, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. So I certainly appreciate the book, and I appreciate the effort it took to get it published. So jumping back into the writing the book itself for a second here, do you remember the exact moment? I mean, you said you taught yourself to go past the first 10 minutes of running or exercising. So do you remember the first moment you thought, I need to write this down? What did the first spark feel like?
Well, the interesting thing about it, Sam, is, and so many of us have had that experience, right? Again, we know our purpose, we know what we're supposed to be doing, but we give ourselves every excuse in the book to not do it, to not get started, although we know that this is what has been placed on our heart to do. So like everybody else, I kept telling myself, I'm too busy. What if the book doesn't sell? First of all, I don't know anything about writing and publishing a book. So just like with every other goal, I kept telling myself, no, 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 no. But Sam, God has an interesting way of speaking to us. So in the back of my mind, in my subconscious mind, there was always a little voice.
Mhm.
And that little voice kept saying, when are you going to do more? That is all. It didn't say anything about when you're going to write the book. It didn't say anything about when you're going to publish the book. It didn't say anything about when you're going to learn how to write and publish a book. that little voice kept saying, when are you going to do more? And like everybody else, I tried to shut it off, right? I'm like, you know what? Too busy, the usual
Yeah,
excuse.
yeah,
And
yeah.
eventually I said, you know what, God, this is the message you are
I
giving
hear
me.
you. I
So
hear
I
you.
hear you, and I'm going to be a humble servant, and I'm going to comply. So I knew the first thing I had to do was learn how to publish a book, because this information was such a part of my DNA that I was literally able to write the book in a month,
Hmm.
because I had the information so pent up inside of me that
Hmm.
once I started to write it down, it was a release.
It just began to
It
flow.
just poured out,
Mm.
because again, I had lived with this for maybe at the time 15 years.
Hmm.
I had lived with this for 15 years. And once I started writing it, it just poured out. And the good thing about the book is it's literally only 52 pages, right?
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah,
it's 52
exactly.
pages because I didn't want people to get stuck on all the fluff. There's no
Hmm.
fluff. We get straight to the point. And so a lot of people have told me that they've read the book in like two sittings, in a matter of a day or two. They were able to write the book. And I'm happy you said that you go back and read it often, because I've gotten the same feedback that many
Yeah.
people highlight the information so that when they're feeling discouraged, when they're feeling unmotivated, they
Hmm.
go back to the book to remind themselves of the importance of that goal and why they are working towards it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's great motivation. And so, sometimes you forget
Yes.
to
Even
mo-
I forget and I have to reread it.
yeah, you forget to motivate yourself. That's what I'm driving at. So
Right.
having someone else's voice tell you you can do this, I think is important. And so and again, to confirm what you're saying, there's no fluff in the book. It gets straight to the point. It says, and I read this book the first day I got it,
Yep.
and cover to cover. And one of the aspects of it is, well, in chapter 2, which you titled "Stop Trying." Um, the first sentence is kind of got me. It says, "My first mistake, I kept buying new clothes whenever my weight would increase. I would allow my weight to dictate my shopping habits." To me, that is so profound, because it's not, and I'm not even taking it as the weight part and the clothing part. Myself, I don't buy clothes. So
And that was one of my motivations, because I do not like to shop. Most people
yeah,
assume that every woman loves to shop. I
right.
do not like to shop. And so, because
Mhm.
I don't like to shop, I have to make sure I maintain my weight, because then I have nothing to wear.
Right, right. So, and you gotta look good, right?
Yes.
So, but so I took that as just in everything I do. What excuses am I making for not completing something? And quite frankly, I've always been the type of person where if I start something, I want to finish it. If it means I have to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning to finish it, I'll finish it.
Yep.
Or even if it's over several days and months. But still, there are still times we give up on certain things.
Yep.
We're like, you know what, this is too hard. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm done with it. So that brings me to my next question, which is, um, you know, I love that you bring such a unique mix. I don't think I've ever interviewed a person or spoken to a person who has such a unique mix of experience, psychology, media, marketing, family person, wife or spouse and parent. Um, so how would those different experiences shape the way you write today? Because as I said, I know some of this came after. So how would that shape the way you write?
Yeah, and it's interesting. And I just want to go back for 1 minute to what you mentioned about the clothing size, because the reason why the book focuses on my fitness journey, right, is because that is the number one goal that most of us are struggling with. Right. So we talk about goals that we are trying to pursue in life goals. Well, for many people, the life goal that is the fundamental to the success of their other goals is getting the healthy lifestyle that brings with it the energy, that brings with it the mental clarity, right? That brings with it the endurance to be able to pursue those other goals. So that is one of the reasons that I started with the healthy lifestyle journey. And that is why when you go on my website, which I will give towards the end, it says consistency as the missing variable in the healthy lifestyle equation. Because many times health professionals will tell you a healthy lifestyle. And notice I'm not talking about losing weight, because with the lifestyle comes the weight loss. We're not talking quick fixes. We're not talking about the latest diet, the latest trends. We're talking about a lifestyle that is going to create eventually that weight loss that you're looking for. So many professionals talk about, eating healthy, being active in terms of being a healthy lifestyle, but nobody's telling us the importance of consistency. So I had to fill the gap. I decided to fill the gap and take my knowledge of psychology, right? And my knowledge of consistency with the healthy lifestyle journey and fill the gap to teach folks about the importance of consistency. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Sam, I'm the type of person that I follow where the universe directs me. Right? So I believe in a higher power, whether you want to call it God, you want to call it Jah, Jehovah, whatever you believe to be the higher power. And so I spend a lot of time in silence. And I just say, Lord, the universe, speak to me, direct me. And that is how I ended up pursuing all the avenues I've gone down, because I published the book January 1st, 2020, right? I was out going to churches, going to working with private healthcare companies, teaching about the importance of consistency. Then what happened March of 2020? And by the way, I had a major sorority conference scheduled for March 20th, 2020. COVID shut down everything.
Right.
So the universe said, well, the world is closed. What is your next option, Simone? Right. And my next option was social media. And so as a lifelong learner, I turned to social media. And in the same way I taught myself to self-publish using Amazon Kindle, I taught myself how to be most effective on social media. What does it take to be successful on social media? And so I learned all the tips and tricks. And today I have about maybe 17,000, over 17,300 followers. But even more importantly, I checked my numbers this morning, and the reach is 466,000 viewers every month.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. The importance of setting a goal and then going and pursuing it. And my thing is, once I've learned something, Sam, I believe that our success is reflected in how much we are willing to give back.
Yes.
What we are learning. So I learn a skill, and the next thing I want to do is I want to teach, right? So once I had mastered social media, I said, well, I have all this information, just like in the book. I had all the information from living a healthy lifestyle, and I decided to put it in a book to teach our folks. In the same way, I gained all this information from social media. So the next step was to teach our community, because I know that our community needs the information to be successful. If you have a business, if you have a product, something that you're wanting to promote, social media is a wonderful option, because guess what? It's free.
Right.
right?
In some cases, obviously.
Yeah, so my thought is learn, be open to the universe. What is the path the universe has for you? And then how can you use that information once you've learned it? So always setting new goals. Always setting new goals, because again, we are meant to live a purpose-driven life. And for me, that means not being stagnant. That means always learning, always growing, and then taking that information. So I created a social media course, and more information about that is on my website, which I will share in a little while, a social media course. And then I'm grateful to you. You gave me the opportunity to create, produce, and host Untapped Potential on TDN Radio, which has been a wonderful experience. And then from that came Roots Connections on Q95 FM radio. So again, learning what works. What is the new goal? How can I maximize this opportunity for the benefit of our community? So again, just being open to the universe and what is that purpose-driven life you're supposed to live. And you don't have to be like me, because, I tend to have tentacles. I tend to have tentacles. So it's okay to just focus on one goal. That one goal that has been set on your heart. And then how can you be consistent with pursuing that goal? And then once you've achieved that goal, how are you going to benefit your community by sharing what you've learned?
Exactly. And of course, you are very welcome, and we are so happy to have you on the TDN network. But speaking of radio then, and social media, these two entities basically gives you a literal voice. So people can not only read what you write, they can also hear you speak. So when you're writing, how do you bring the same energy and personality into the pages? So when a reader picks up that book, they don't just see your title, but they see the words, and they can say, this is Dr. Simmons writing. This is Dr. Simmons speaking. How do you bring that in?
Well, I think the most important thing with radio and with writing is to be relatable, right? So I never preach. I think the worst thing you can do as an author, as a radio personality, as someone who is influential on social media, is to try to preach to people. Because most of the people who are in your audience are adults. Right? They're not little kids. Don't be condescending. And a lot of people find it interesting that many times when I interact with them, I say, call me Simone. Right. Like, oh, Dr. Matthew. I'm like, no, that's okay. Because yes, that is my profession. But as a human being, we're all trying to journey together. Right? So being able to relate to each other, our struggles, our setbacks, our challenges, and how can we move together? How can we move forward together to positively impact our community? So just as in radio, just as in the book, the important thing, bring that energy, energize people, get them actively engaged. Right? Get them excited, because what I found with living a purpose-driven life, and that's probably need to be in my next book, right, Sam?
Well, we'll talk about your next book shortly.
And the thing about it is, it doesn't take too much to spark an idea in my mind.
Right.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Because I'm having conversations, and then I feel like light bulbs are going off to say,
I can actually, like in the cartoons, you would say light bulbs going over the character's head. I can see that over your head.
Yes. So I'm like, wait, I keep talking about this purpose-driven life, but I don't have a book.
Right.
That delves more into that. So, I'm always looking for a new opportunity, a new goal, a new project, a new way to grow and learn. So I might look into that. But yes. So just having that purpose is what energizes us every day. So even if your purpose is waking up and just, I don't know, watering your plants, being with your pets because you don't have a family. If your purpose is nurturing your family to the best of your ability, whatever that purpose that has been placed on your heart, my goal is to make you feel energized, because I don't know about you, Sam, and I know you're just like me, right? You have many tentacles, but having that purpose-driven life, Sam,
Yeah.
it energizes me every day. Every day I wake up and I know I get to do something positive to impact my community, to impact my Caribbean people, to impact the world. It gives you energy, because when those dark days come, because we all have challenges, right? When those dark days come, if you don't feel like you have a purpose, then where does your hope come from?
Well, why do you get out of bed? And you're
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah,
Where
that
does your hope come from? What is your reason for getting out of bed? So once you can answer that reason for why I'm getting out of bed, and it can't just be so you can go work a 9 to 5.
no.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
it can't be so
sorry.
you can go make someone else rich.
Thank you. It can be, oh yes, I have bills to pay, so let me go
Yeah,
work this 9 to 5. But
right.
what is that? What is that voice? The same way the voice in my mind kept telling me, when are you going to do more? What is that little voice in your mind telling you? Is it telling you, you're meant to preach? Is it telling you you're meant to teach? Is it telling you you're meant to help and support in some way? Is it telling you you're meant to volunteer? Because the beauty of life is, the beauty of being human is, we all, I firmly believe, and I want anybody who's watching this to tell me that no, I don't have I don't have any little voice that's telling me I need to be doing something, or maybe you're doing it already.
Right.
So that's even better. But
Yeah.
again, the importance of being energized to
And
pursue that passion.
I think for you it's quite different because you are a psychologist, and psychology being, the science of studying the mind and human
Mhm,
behavior and how those interact or how we make decisions.
mhm.
Um, does that, well, I shouldn't even ask you if it does, but what I should ask is, um, how does it help you build character or theme or the message that really, connects with people?
Well, at the end of the day, we're all psychology, Sam. We are all mind and behavior, which
Right.
is what psychology is. The study of the way we think and the way we behave because
Hmm.
of the way we think. So it all begins with our mindsets, right? And that is the number one thing I teach when I do programs. So right now, I'm with an NGO here in Georgia. And what we do is we have this program called Powered, where we empower the community to live healthier lifestyles. And we focus, which is a program I created, we focus on 3 M's, right? Your mindset, your meal plan, and your movement. And that is how you build the consistency that we talk about. But you will notice number one is mindset,
Hmm.
right? So it is my simple way, and everybody's motivated. So you're already involved in psychology, because whether you're just motivated because you have to get out of bed to go work your 9 to 5 to pay your bills, that's still motivation. So
Okay.
how can you take that motivation and apply it to other areas of your life? So
Hmm.
so in terms of psychology, what I would want our audience to focus on is, what are those negative thoughts that are getting in the way of your success? So when I
Aha.
do, yes, so when I do my powered program, that is the first thing, because we have so many self-defeating thoughts. Who do you think you are, right?
Right.
Who do you think you are? You will never be able to do this. It is too hard for you. You will never continue. You will never end. And the sad reality that I learned when I was a professor, right now I'm an online professor, but when I worked on site at a college, the sad reality is, a lot of the negative thoughts comes from our own homes.
Very true. Very
Comes from
true.
our own homes. I've
Mhm.
had students who were trying to be the first, talking about important goals, were trying to be the first member of their family to graduate from college.
Hmm.
Rather than supporting them, family members would say to them, "Oh, you think you're better than us now because you're in college." How
Hmm.
sad is that? How sad is that? To the point, Sam, and I hate to report this, and I call his name every day, right? To the point where one of our students committed suicide
Oh wow, that is
because,
yeah.
and so disappointing because he would volunteer often with our departments.
Mhm.
And I was so disappointed because he knew I was in psychology and he never thought to reach out and say, can I speak to you? Can we talk about this?
Yeah,
Because his own family members were telling him, why are you going to college? You're not going to get a job. You're going to come right back to where we are. You're never going to make it in life. And
that
he
is
became so distraught
hmm.
that unfortunately he took his own life. So the power of those negative voices, both within you and externally, and the importance of setting boundaries with
Hmm.
the people who are not going to support your goal. Because not everybody, including your own family members, are going to support your goal, and leaning towards those who will support your goals. Maybe the person is pursuing the same goal. Maybe they're in college like you, and maybe they too are the first person in their family who's probably trying to complete college. So
Right.
you can come together, create your own support community to be able to pursue those goals.
Hmm. Yeah, that is. I'm so sorry about
Yeah.
the student
Yep.
because that is such a tragic loss. You know that means that's a voice that has been silenced
And
forever.
yeah, and he had tremendous potential, and we would have worked with him to get him a job because we had career services.
Right.
But
Right.
he fed in because, again, of the significance of who was saying these things to him, right? If a
Mhm.
stranger had been saying these things to him, it wouldn't
Yeah,
have mattered.
he
But
could
when
have
your own family members are
been.
saying stuff like that to you, it becomes toxic.
You know, I want to share a personal story with you. And I guess the rest of the world know. A few people know about it. But I went to college in Dominica. At the time, it was called the Clifton Yupining Community College. Went to the technical wing. And I have a cousin. We are very close. We grew up together. We always hung out and everything. When I was in college, he was in high school. But our famous, wonderful public library, every day I leave class. Well, not every day I leave class, but every often enough, I would hang out with some of the folks who had classes with, or who went to C4 Call as well. People like Nicole, and sometimes my cousin and I would go to the library, maybe when these other folks were not around or whatever. So one day we went to the library, and there was this particular young lady he liked, and we I didn't know her at the time, but I know her now. And so I ignored her. Because he was, sometimes when a guy is trying to pursue a girl, but she's not interested, and she's talking to him, but not in the way he wants. So that was the kind of relationship they had. So just before I was telling him, why are you even bothering this girl? She's not interested. Anyway, so I stood off away from them while they were talking on the library's balcony. If you're from Dominica and you know that library, you know the business. So I stood off to the corner, and I wasn't paying attention to them. So they had their conversation. She went her direction, and he came to catch up with me. And he came and he had a huge smile on his face, and he was laughing. So I asked him, "What's so funny?" He said, "Man, you hear what this girl say? She asking me, 'Who are you?' And why you standing there? You look like you have no purpose in life."
Wow.
She doesn't know me. This was the first time she had ever seen me. And I was like, "And you find that to be funny?" Anyway, I mean, it didn't really affect me. I just never forgot it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never had someone say such a thing to or about me. So I was like, why? You don't even know me. And
Mm-hmm.
fast forward years later, maybe 20, 30 years later, I did get to know her. And to this day, I have never repeated it to her, tell her, well, and such time you said this, that, or the other. To me, it wasn't important. It's not
Mm-hmm.
that important. So, but I say that to share, based on what you said about your student and the fact how negative reinforcement can hurt people
Mm-hmm.
and how it can damage a person's
Mm-hmm.
psyche, how it can drive someone to take such an
Mm-hmm.
extreme measure as to taking their own life. And
Yeah,
so,
and words have power,
oh
right?
yeah,
That old adage, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can do me no harm. That's not true.
that's a lie from the
Words
devil.
have power. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because even in my own personal life, when I was I went to Sipocol as well, the same college you're talking about. So we just
Yeah.
aged ourselves. And once I was done with that, the question became, how am I going to get out of Dominica to go pursue university education?
Right.
And so, there's a certain naive mindset that I have that seems to block me from realizing when something is not possible. I call it a naive mindset because it never dawns on me that what you're trying to do has never been done before. And
Mhm.
so maybe you should reconsider that decision. So, I started requesting packages from universities in the US, the universities in Canada, because my dream was to go overseas, to go to university and pursue
Right.
a bachelor's degree in psychology. And speaking about the power of words, I have a cousin and she knows herself well. I won't call her name. We're very close to this day. So I did not let it affect, the same way you talked about, I did not let it affect our relationship. But at the time, she looked at me. My father was a chronic alcoholic. This man would come home sometimes at the end of the month with $1 in his pocket, right? Because he got drunk and somebody stole his entire salary. She
Right.
looked at me and she said to me, Simone, why are you requesting all these packages to go to the university in Canada and the US? This is her actual words. How do you intend to pay for university? With your father's rum bottles?
Wow. That is harsh.
A
That is,
family member I
yeah.
grew up with my entire life, her exact words.
Wow.
How do you intend to pay for university? With your father's rum bottles? So you see the damage that can cause, Sam.
Yeah.
But we have the power as human beings to take words and let them be toxic, or we can take those same words and let them propel us, right? So
Yeah.
the people who are not going to support your goal, who are not going to support your dream, who are not going to support that purpose that has been placed on your heart, they will find all different ways. And again, the most powerful of these people are going to be your own immediate family members. So had I not been inclined to be motivated, I would have stopped. I would have been like, wow, she's actually true. We
Yeah.
have, we have no money. We have no collateral. We
Right.
have, at the time we had a mortgage, but we didn't own our home outright. Right. So I could have been like, you know what? She is so right. Let me just stop this nonsense and go look for a job somewhere in Roseau. And I would have still been Dominica to this day. But you know what I said to her? I didn't say anything to her verbally. But in my mind, what I said to her is, I'll show you. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Because we've had so many people along the way. I had a teacher after I passed common entrance. I was going to the St. Martin High School. My goal was to go to convent. I received only a pass. You knew the system of common entrance, that exam
Right.
that we took, where you could either get a scholarship, which is the highest level, a bursary, or a pass. I
Right.
got the lowest pass. to go into high school. And of course, I wanted to go to Convent High School because that is the most prestigious girls' school in Dominica. She looked at my mom and she said to my mom, don't send Simone to Convent High School. I'm an 11-year-old child standing right next to my mother. And a teacher who is supposed to be my motivator says to my mom, don't send Simone to Convent High School. She's not smart enough. She said to my mom, she's not smart enough. She will not be able to succeed at Convent High School.
This is just
Influential people and what they will say to you when you're trying to pursue an important goal. And guess what I said in the back of my mind as an 11-year-old girl?
I'll show you.
I'll show you. I'll show you. And I got to Convent High School because what it is I'm not very good at standardized testing. Never have been, never will be.
Many people.
Yes, and I got to Convent High School and I was top 3 in my class for the 5 years I went to Convent High School. If my mom had listened to that teacher and sent me to, I don't know where she wanted me to go, because as far as I'm concerned, all the high schools in Dominica are pretty good high schools.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's like telling somebody, a brand name is more important than education. Convent, St. Martin, all of these are brand names. I actually remember people who went to certain high schools like Goodwill Secondary, for example, and these kids didn't want to go to Goodwill Secondary because they were not a brand name. They were not your grammar school. They were not your
community high school. Community high school is another one of the schools.
That is another one that is looked down upon.
Wesley High School. High School.
Exactly. So, these things have such huge impacts on young folks, on young minds.
And the power of it is, it doesn't matter which high school I would have gone to. I would have excelled.
Exactly.
But just the mere fact that standing right there, and to this day, I look at that teacher when I go to Dominica and I just smile at her. She you know what? And chances are she doesn't even remember that conversation because I was one of maybe thousands of students she taught in her career. She's not going to remember that conversation, but me as the recipient,
you're going to remember it.
Me as the recipient, I'm going to remember. So we have to be careful when other people come to us with our goals, the words we are choosing. So the same way we can be on the receiving end, when we are on the giving end, we too have to be careful with the words that we're using. Even if we don't believe this person is capable of accomplishing the goal that they're trying to do. Even if my mom, when she saw me getting those packages from the US and Canada, she didn't tell me you can do it. You know what she told me? She told me, Simone, if I could help you, I would help you. She never told me, how are you planning on paying for it? Your father's rum bottle? She told me, if I could help you, I could help you. And by the grace of God, I was able to get a scholarship to go to Texas, and then to cover my expenses, my godmother put up her land for collateral, and I got a loan from Royal Bank. You see what I'm saying? So you have to constantly be telling yourself, where there is a will, there is a way.
Right.
Where and there is your mom, will, there is a way to get to that goal that you're trying to pursue.
Yeah, and your mom certainly helped you. I mean, I know what she meant, that if she could financially take care of it, she would.
And my mom is a praying lady, so she's like, you know what, Simone, I will pray for you. And to this day, she's still praying for me.
Just by doing that, she provided you the help. But just by not telling you asking you how you're going to pay for it and all of that.
Right, but even if you cannot support, don't tear people down.
Exactly.
Even if you cannot provide them with tangible support, at least do not say something that is going to make their situation even worse.
Right. All right. So now I want to, turn our attention to, because since you are a marketing expert, I have to ask you, what's it like to promote your own book? Yeah. Does it make it easier because the strategy is harder because it's so personal? What's that like?
But let me tell you, Sam. You know the expression, the shoemaker wears the worst shoes,
Yeah.
and doctors are the worst patients. Well, that applies to me because I spend so much time promoting other people, their business and their products
Right.
that I probably should have spent more time promoting my book. And I'm just being honest because for me it is more than the book, right? For
Mhm.
me it is more than the book. Yes, if people want to get the book, that is great and I appreciate it, but for me it's really about the community impact. So when I'm doing my powered programs with the NGO that I work with right now, it is more about what can people take away and
Mhm.
how can they use this to create what we like to do. We talk about a plan for success for your healthy lifestyle journey. So my goal is not to sell push past 10. My goal is, and we do talk about it, and there's an accompanying journal. I should have brought it with me as well. It's on my
Mhm.
website. Because if you don't track your goals, how do you know that you're making progress?
Right.
Right. So there's an accompanying journal to Push Past 10. It's on my website where people can track their progress.
Mhm.
But for me, yes, and I appreciate the author showcase to talk about the book. But for me, it's bigger than the book.
I
It's
know.
bigger than the book. It is, for me, it is. If I came back to you 5 years from now, the same way, Sam, you talk about still going back and referencing stuff from the book. When I come back to you 5 years from now, you've been in my power program and you meet me somewhere, I want to be able to say, oh, what are you still doing that you learned from our time together?
Mhm.
Because that is how we're going to help our community to rid itself of the obesity crisis, the chronic lifestyle diseases. In Dominica, we call them, I think, NCDs.
Mhm.
But here in the US, we just call them chronic lifestyle diseases, diabetes, stroke,
Right.
high
High
blood
blood pressure.
pressure,
Yeah.
right? And just as important, now we're seeing that in our children,
Mhm.
right? So for me, my mission is how do we reverse those? How do we get people to make permanent changes? And another walking club here in McDonough, Georgia, just reached out to me, so I'm going to be working with them. So for me, that is what success looks like. For me,
Okay.
success looks like how much have I penetrated my community to
Mhm.
get that message of consistency with your healthy lifestyle journey. So, to answer your question, Sam, I could be doing more to promote Push Past 10 because everything I talk about in the powered programs and
Mhm.
in the outreach efforts I do is in the book,
Mm.
right? It's
Right.
in the book. So my thing is, it is great if you want to get the book, and I will mention the book. But what is even more important to me is, are you making those permanent lifestyle changes that we're
Mhm.
talking about?
Yeah, I have just a few more questions that I wanted to ask you, and then I will let you go. Um, so, have do readers surprise you? Readers often surprise their authors if they meet them. They say don't meet your heroes, but sometimes that happens. So, has anyone ever um, shared a line, an interpretation of Push Past 10 that made you stop and think, or maybe laugh, or say,
Yeah, I know what you're asking. I know what you're asking. So many, well, I'd say maybe 99.9% of
"Mhm,
folks who've bought the book, people I've only met virtually.
yeah,
So I
okay.
don't really meet them in person. But the person who seemed to have had the greatest takeaway from Push Past 10 is my mom, who's almost 80 years old.
Oh, wow.
And she
Congratulations to
tells
her.
me all the time, huh?
I said, congratulations to her.
Yes, yes, in a few months she's gonna be 80. But she tells me, because we do the 6 months in Georgia, 6 months in New York, and the main reason we do that is because when she's in New York, she's more mobile. She can get out, she can go walking, she can jump on a train, jump on a bus. Here in
Right.
Georgia, you live in Texas,
Yeah.
so you need a car
You need a
to
car.
go
You need a
everywhere,
driver.
and that does not speak to her health.
Mm-hmm.
So she stays in New York for as long as possible so she can remain active. She
Right.
can remain active, she can remain healthy. And you will be surprised. Many times she will come back from a long walk and she will call me and she will be like, I just wasn't in the mood to walk.
Mm-hmm.
I just kept thinking, you know what, let me stay inside. Maybe it was a little bit chilly, or maybe it was a little bit too hot for her to go out. And she would tell herself, her name is Medina. She would tell herself, Medina, push past the first 10 minutes. And
Right.
then she would be so excited to tell me. She'd be like, and my home folks call me Darrows, and that's why I'm DA Rose on Facebook.
Right.
She'll be like, Darrows, let me tell you, in our Dominican accent, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I got to 10 minutes and I walked for an hour and a half.
Your mom sounds like a very fun person.
She is. She is a very vibrant, very energetic person because she's always remained active. And the other thing she does a lot, which is where I get it from, she reads a lot. So she keeps her mind mentally sharp. My mother will remind me of things that happened 30 years ago. And I'll be like, how do you still remember this? She's like, yes, and you were wearing this clothes and that clothes. And I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
and
You don't gotta worry about her.
all that is because she is investing in her health. Her goal right now is to invest in her health. So yes, she'll come from her long walks and she'll be like, and Darrows, I walked 10 blocks, 20 blocks because I told myself to push past the first 10 minutes.
Right.
Isn't
Right.
that interesting?
That is very, very
And
interesting.
that is the greatest reward for me, Sam. When
I
I
think
hear someone like you say, you keep going back to the book, because I don't want it to be you read the book and you move on. I've
yeah.
had other people say to me, I keep this book on my nightstand. So every night I flip through the pages, I go back to where I'm struggling, because one of the things I talk about in the book is the importance of embracing failure as part of the process.
Oh,
Because
definitely.
many times we're trying to pursue a goal, maybe we're trying to pursue a healthy lifestyle. We fall off the wagon and we stop. But no, you have to see it as a way to redirect your efforts. You're doing something that is not working. So
Right.
what can you do differently? So for me, that is the greatest reward when I hear people say that they've kept the book handy so they can continue to follow the principles. They continue to push past those first minutes every day to get energized, and they can continue to follow all the other information in the book to keep them motivated. But my mom's example is by far.
I mean, that is a perfect example. You could not have a better example than that.
Yep.
And it's also interesting that not often you find this, children influencing and motivating their parents. It's
Yep.
usually the other way around.
Yep.
And so that even as adults, so I think that is a wonderful example.
Oh yes. Oh, yeah.
And
And,
I
and
think,
she tells it to me at least once a month. At least once a month, I get a push past story of how she wasn't
yeah,
motivated, or the sun too hot, or it too cold.
and
And she say, you know what?
I
I
keep
put
it,
on my walking shoes, and
yeah.
10 minutes later, I was good to go.
And since I got this book, it's been right here on my desk. So if I'm doing something and I need to take a break or I need to go back to it, I see it, I pick it up, I read a few pages, and so it's always right at my hand.
Thank you, Sam. I so
So,
appreciate that.
no, I mean, I'm not telling you that to placate you in any way. I'm telling you that the book is that important,
Yeah.
and I've never seen a book like this.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank
I
you.
read all kinds of books. I have a bookshelf to my right, and I have one in the garage. My wife is mad at me because it's like I taking up all her space with books, and I have books in my Amazon cart. I scared to buy. I
she,
don't
might
want
put,
this way.
she might put you and your books out.
Exactly. Look, I don't want trouble. But
Right.
anyway, so we have been a little bit further than where we wanted to stop. But now authors, they have their quirks. We all do. So maybe a certain playlist, favorite chair, type of lighting, mood lighting, or snack. But tell us some secrets. What are your rituals?
Oh, my ritual. That's interesting. I think my ritual surrounds more of getting my workout in because I'm using my own book to motivate myself.
Right.
Right? Because now it's become, are you practicing what you preach? Are you practicing what you preach? So now you're getting all this traction. You're getting into meeting people in the community. But now my motivation, in addition to, of course, living my healthiest life, and for me, my why, which is something else we talk about. Why is this goal important to you? For me, my why, the health benefits, everything we talked about. But for me, I just want to be able to get up and go, right? And I talked about it recently on one of my programs that we were in Paris in 2024, and you literally have to be in physical shape to be able to enjoy Paris. We were there for like maybe 7 days. We probably walked about 30 miles.
Wow.
Right? We probably walked about 30 miles. And the thing about that city is every building you enter has stairs.
Yes.
If you go to a restaurant, it is either upstairs, right? And even if the restaurant is on the first floor, the restroom is upstairs. And when I say upstairs, Sam, we're not talking wide stairs,
Yeah, it's those
We're
narrow
talking about the
European
narrow
design.
stairs that you have to meander.
Yeah.
So for me, and having a 14-year-old daughter is a great inspiration because I just want to live like I'm alive.
Right.
Without any joint pains, without being on any medicines for any chronic lifestyle diseases. That is my motivation. But my motivation also is, are you being authentic to what you are teaching people? Because I cannot be coming here talking about meal prep and if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And then in the background,
You do
I'm
the
not prepping
opposite.
my meals. I'm eating junk. And for some people, that would be fine. But I know for my conscious mind, that's not okay. Right? So
Yeah.
so it's interesting that you asked that question because now I feel like I'm on the opposite side of the table because I was using this to motivate others. Now the book is motivating me.
Well,
Isn't that interesting?
I think that is why these kinds of conversations are important.
Yes.
Gets to make you see where you have blinders on.
Yes.
And often I think people like us, we can have blinders on because we are so focused on helping other people.
Yep.
We forget to help ourselves. And I know that to be true about myself. Sometimes I will leave my own self behind and help someone else, which is not a bad thing. I think when you give to others, you get more in return. And whether that's knowledge or being an educator or whatever it is you do, if you give willingly, I believe the rewards are much greater.
But Sam, I'm going to be devil's advocate on this one and say to you, I don't agree. Because, and the reason I don't agree, and this is especially for our women, especially for our women, you cannot pour from empty.
Well, that is
You
true.
can't.
Yeah.
So every day, and especially, and I'm saying this to you, Sam George, especially as a friend, you have to continue to replenish so that you can give more to people. It is important to give to people. It is important to cater to people and to support people, but you can't pour from empty. And I say this especially to our women, because we live in a society, unfortunately, in 2025, where women are still taught that you have to sacrifice for others. It is selfish to take time to go to the gym. It is selfish to take time for your own self-care. right? And now we
Yeah.
have women who are miserable, right? So for the sake of my family, Sam, because we all know what happens when mommy's not happy.
Right.
All know what the
Definitely.
home feels like when a woman is not happy. And you have a wife, I'm sure you know this. For the
Mhm.
sake of my family, I have to invest in my own health
Right.
because that is what energizes me, right?
Mhm.
That is how I pour into myself. So now I can, pour and overflow.
Right. No, I agree.
Amen.
I agree. You have to love yourself before you can
Yes,
love others.
self-care,
That's what I mean. I
self-care.
just mean that, it's good to give.
Yes,
That's essentially what I mean.
absolutely.
Not
Absolutely.
giving all of yourself or not
Right.
just, yeah, but certainly
Not
I
not
agree with you.
completely depleting yourself, but
Yeah,
it's good to give. Yes.
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
my final question would be looking ahead. What's
Hmm.
next? What's the next chapter as an author? What kind are you looking to write another motivation type book,
Hmm.
or would you consider writing, or are you considering writing something in the fiction world, or
Hmm.
just give listeners and your readers
Hmm.
um, an idea of what they can look forward to from Dr. Simone, the author.
So let me say this to you, Sam, that is actually, my words of life. What's next? You said that, Sam, and my heart literally skipped a beat.
Oh my God.
Because that is like fuel to my soul.
Oh
I
wow.
always love the idea of
Mhm.
what's next. And again, my what's next always is open to the universe,
Okay.
open to what God has in store for me, right?
Mhm.
So my mom says that I like to use this expression a lot, and it's true. I always say whenever I've finished my prayers in the morning, I say, "Thy will be done."
Yes.
Not my will, but thy will be done. So that way, sometimes we latch on. This is what we want. This is what we want. This is what we want. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's materialistic things, which
Right.
I don't believe in latching on
Mhm.
too tightly because they can all be taken away in the snap of a finger, right?
Right.
But I think, I've been there because before I started getting traction with my wellness work, I was frustrated because I'm like, and I speak to God a lot, right? I speak to God. I work virtually, so I spend a lot of time alone. My husband goes to work, my daughter goes to school, and I speak to God. I was speaking to God, and I'm like, why did you put this message on my heart? And I don't seem to be going anywhere with it. I keep reaching out to people because I want to continue pursuing this work. People don't respond to you,
Mhm.
right? That is the greatest insult I think you can do to somebody. If somebody's reached out to you, if
Yeah.
if you cannot assist, just say so. But to
Exactly.
simply not respond, I think it is very rude.
Yeah.
And I was to the point of being frustrated. And I told myself, you know what? Let go. Just let go. Let go. And you've planted the seeds. You've planted the seeds. Now let go and let God.
Right.
Right? Let go and let God. And this is a message for all our listeners and our viewers. Because yes, you have that goal that is planted on your heart. But once you've realized you've toiled and you've toiled and you've toiled and you've toiled, it's not because it's the wrong path that you're pursuing. It's because now is the time to sit back, let God get in the driver's seat, and let go. And you will see doors will start opening one after the other. Because if that is God's plan for you, He already has the path. And He's testing you.
Right.
He's testing you. He's saying to you, how badly do you want this? Right? Because if it's not that important to you, you're going to give up very quickly.
Yeah.
But if you know that is the goal you ought to be pursuing, you will hold on during the storm and you will wait for the winds to calm so you can continue the path. So what's next for me, Sam? Again, I'm so excited about that question. Although I don't, look. Although I don't have a plan of what's next, right?
Right.
But I do know that having this conversation with me, and again, we talk about the importance of these conversations, right? I'm very grateful we had this conversation, because now you've sparked in me the idea of doing something on the purpose-driven life.
Oh, wow.
So I want to thank you. And it's interesting because I've had people that I've done interviews with, and they've come back and told me the same thing, that from the interview, we happen to touch on something, and now that is what they're pursuing. So again, Sam and our audience, the power of words. The power of words. Be careful. My mom, likes to repeat this. She likes to say, like Simone likes to say, be careful what you put into the universe.
Yeah, indeed.
Always put positive.
Yeah, I mean, the word, even the word says the power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yes.
Such a small organ,
yes,
yet the most powerful organ. Because
yep,
what you say to people
firmly believe
can either make them or break them.
Yep, I firmly believe in that. So thank you for answering my question of what is next. So what is next is definitely something on the purpose-driven life. Maybe another book, because I really appreciate, I really like the writing process. I've always loved reading and writing.
Right.
So maybe that, and again, just getting more traction, doing more outreach, trying to penetrate our community more in terms of the concept of consistency as the missing variable in the equation of your healthy lifestyle goal, whatever goal that you're pursuing. How are you remaining consistent, especially when the challenges come, and they will come? But how are you remaining consistent to push past? Get it?
Push past 10.
Push past the challenges.
Yeah, and that is where we are going to leave it today. And so, Dr. Simone, this has been such a wonderful conversation.
Yes.
I want to thank you for spending more than an hour with us, even if we didn't intend to be on here for this long. But the conversation was too interesting to just cut off.
Right.
And so, it's also clear that as a professor, a radio personality, and in being in media, has given you a very rich perspective as an author. And so, for everyone listening, make sure you check out pushpast10.com. Right? This is Dr. Simone's website, and you will find the links you need to purchase the book and see everything else she's been doing and she's been working on. Anything else you want to add before we jump off?
Yes, very quickly again, thank you for the opportunity, and just a reminder that pushpast10 is PUSHPAST10 at .com. So again, PUSHPAST10.com, and there is an area that you can click on if you would like to message me. So thank you again, Sam, for the opportunity. Thank you for our listeners and viewers for looking at this information. I hope that you found value with what we talked about, and I hope that it will positively impact your life in some way. Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi.
And of course, thank you so much once again. Until next time, this has been your Author Showcase. Thank you for joining us, and happy reading.